Hi, this is Mon Rasz and you are listening to my daily thoughts number 23. Today's reflections are about Future Society Part 2. While the focus in the last session was on the current status of Western society, today I would like to take the opportunity and look forward to see in which way a rejuvenation of the system could help to provide for a different, a more humane, happy and free way of living. The goal is to get away, at least in some areas, from the profit-only driven situation and to move into one that gives incentives for providing goods and services that account for public benefit in such areas as health, employment and monetary system. Let's look at these areas a little closer. First example, health. To be happy requires good health. The question is how come that anyone's health condition can be of huge profit for someone else. I don't quite understand how this can be allowed or even supported by the government. So let's take the English and to some degree the French as a working example and call for a public health system. If the government is in charge of public health, then it would be in its own interest to prevent people from getting sick in the first place. So, automatically prevention and a healthy lifestyle would become a top priority. Second example, employment. To be happy requires also to have a decent job in order to make a living. How does this going to work amidst high unemployment rate, outsourcing and global economy downturn? Here are a few suggestions. Why not make the paycheck of our industry leaders depending on how many jobs they have created or secured? Why not start a few Titan projects, altogether called Titan 220, a date by which the EC and the US commit to having implemented a nationwide or continent-wide superfast train infrastructure, to be energy independent using alternative, free and renewable energies, and to having mostly electric vehicles on the road, and maybe having accomplished the first mission to Mars. How many millions of jobs would that create? You ask, who is going to finance all that? I would say, the money is there. It would just need to be spent in different ways. For instance, the 2009 banking bailout alone cost the US taxpayers trillions of dollars. How many projects could have been financed with that? And instead, it was flushed down the toilet without accountability. Trillions of dollars. 1 trillion, that's a 1 followed by 12 zeros. You could write 10 million Americans a $100,000 check each, or 100 million Americans a $10,000 check. Several trillions of these dollars vanished, just like that, into the unknown. That's about as good as it can get in a system of money, power and control. Third example, monetary system. I think it's time for an overhaul in terms of thinking short-term profit. Maybe thinking profit at all. Profit, yeah, equals money, but what is that? Do we count holding a few pieces of printed papers in hands as real value, while the printing machine in the back just shifted into next gear? In the old times you had a piece of gold in hands, but what you have in hands nowadays, it's more like an illusion. The Swiss for once did it right here. Their money is backed up to 100% by gold reserves. For most other nations it's more in the 10% or below range. So let's take that working example and call for a monetary system that is backed up to 100% by gold. This will guarantee, to some degree, that the hard-earned money won't be an easy target for devaluation efforts. Maybe we should even go one step further and actually issue gold coins, coins that have a real recognized value worldwide, no matter what happens. This would transfer power away from the governing forces and back to the people, where it belongs. There is an obvious trend of the MPC group to create a world currency. World currency equals world control. independent of states, countries, and unions. One can hardly imagine how much accumulated wealth it needs for private entities to rule the world, but as everybody could see with currency and stock marketplace in the past, it is possible. I think it is the right moment to honor and remember Thomas Jefferson, third President of the United States, who said, quote, "I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around will deprive people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people, to whom it properly belongs." Quote end. The Federal Reserve Banks. Find out for yourself if they are private or governmental entities. And one more note to the monetary system example. Have we thought about to pay our governmental representatives differently? Maybe based upon how many people have benefited from the tax money they spend? Have we thought about to hold them personally accountable, in some form or another, if they run up the nation's debts? Since the current monetary system is very well established almost worldwide, it is, along with its powers and control mechanisms, very resistant to change. So one would be tending to say, if there would be a new world we could start all over again. Unfortunately, there is no more place to do that, except Antarctica. But at the end, this does not really matter, because as long as we do not change our mindset, we would be getting, with some delay, into the same problems in the New World as we are today. The history of the United States is the best example. Look at what the Founding Fathers had in mind, read the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and compare where we are today. What happened to the land of the free? What did it turn into? Change needs to come, more than ever. Not change by using the words and doing the exact opposite. No, I'm talking real change. Change through rejuvenation from within. The kind of change that I laid out in sessions number 13, System Failure, and 14, Rejuvenation. A change based on principles, such as truth and logic, that would produce values like compassion, courage, honor, integrity, love, and sympathy. The kind of change that has the ability to rock the world. But it can and will only happen if we together stand up behind these principles and act, socialize, and vote accordingly. For today, I thank you for your time. May the higher spirit help us evolve. Until the next daily thoughts, yours truly, Mon Rasz. And today's post-lectum is: we are thinking here of future society, but what about society in the past? How would the history books been written if the One Life group hadn't turned into the Money, Power and Control group? Have all the so-called Christian wars been fought to make people believe in one life? Have hundreds of thousands of soldiers and millions of innocent people been murdered because they believed in something different? This is purely hypothetical, but ask yourself the questions. Did Jesus had to die because he believed in rebirth?